Humanitarians Live with Viki. Hi, Viki.
Hi, Asel. Hello, everyone. It's great to have you here. I hope you're having a good day, good Thursday, whether it's a morning, midday, or maybe even evening.
Yes, we're greeting you all. And the topic that we want to discuss today is the topic of career. Well, the month actually is that we're thinking about career, job choices, and we want to dive into those concepts. And specifically today, we wanted to talk about how do we really choose the next thing, right? How do we really transition to the next thing that we're wanting or that we are thinking about? What is the process of it? And that's what we wanted to um, give you some insights into how you could think about it and then apply it and see if it works for you. So the first thing that Vicky, I thought that we could share with everyone is how we approached it, right?
Yeah.
That's always good to look at how each of our journey could have
Mhm.
been. So how is your journey of choosing
Yeah.
that this is the right thing for you?
Yeah, no, thank you. So I think it's a very good that we start with our own examples because I think, in particular, in this question of what's my next career, a lot of people love to hear different examples to feel inspiration, as though to say what else is possible, but basically anything is possible that you put into your mind. So for me, this is I took some time for exploration, and this is also actually one of the things that I think it's overall very useful to give yourself time for exploration. And when I talk about exploration, it was exactly because I didn't know exactly into which discipline or which field I would be going after my active humanitarian service of 20 years. So obviously, it took me quite a while, and I think it took me. I took it very, I would say, loosely in a sense that I didn't stick to any. I didn't have timeline that I have to do it until this or this time. So I took probably over a year of exploration, and this exploration was following. I set out for myself about 2 3 different fields that I was interested in, and what I was doing is I was really contacting people that I knew of that were working in the field, that were outside of the humanitarian sector, and I was really having engaging in what we can call exploratory discussion, right? Or curiosity, or even you can call it curiosity call. I heard this actually today, that you can have a curiosity call, and I think this was very very useful because I, for myself at least, I set out 2 particular fields, and that was, well, 3 that very close got very narrowed down into 2. So one was really sustainability, protection of animals, or anything that falls under sustainability, and the other one was coaching. And so, and the third one was also consultancy on protection issues, but very quickly I realized that actually I don't want to do that, that I've done enough of that in my life. And I took a lot of time and to discussed with at least 10 people from each sector. That so it took me time to actually get the contacts, because I of course talked to different my friends and asked them, look, this is what I'm exploring. Do you know anyone that I could talk to? So this is also one of the ways that I would advise. And this is a very simple way, very easy way to go about exploring what could be my next career if I'm in a situation that I really don't know, that I'm giving myself sort of a all the options are possible, let me explore. This is of course not for people who already know where they're going or they have the narrows, but it's for people like myself, that I wanted to give myself all the options possible to say, okay, let me try. This is something that I really want to do for myself, to do this exploration. So I would say in my case, curiosity talk or curiosity call was the first step. How about you, Asel?
Amazing.
Did you go about the way you were choosing your next career,
Yeah.
the humanitarian one?
So I was thinking also, how did I do that? And I think my focus was so much on not how to do things of what I want to do, but rather what is it that really like my heart is desiring, my soul is
Yeah.
desiring that I want to
Yeah.
do, right? And then when I started like exploring for myself, like solving issues that I was having at the time, then I realized quickly that coaching is exactly what I want to do. Because if I can help myself, then it means that I can also help other people. So that was like the conclusion that I reached. But the other thing that I think is so important that I made the decision at the time is that I no longer want to be making a decision because I have to, or because that sounds good, or because that way I can support my family, or because that way, whatever, right? I never like thought it that way, even though like many of you know that I have a big extended family that I need to support, and I like financial aspects are very important for me. But I still allowed myself to go to the part of like extreme other part of what is it that I'm really desiring to do, and also believing that whatever I desire, I also make it happen. Because simply it's so easy to work on something that you really love working on, then it doesn't sound like a work thing. It sounds more like, oh, this is something that I could totally get on board with
Mm-hmm.
it, right? So that's why I know that my brain wanted to take me to the, well, but you need to take care of this and you need to take care of that. And then your niece is getting to the university, so you need to like be careful, right? So I think many of us have that voices, and that's okay. But still, I ask myself, like, I really want to be working on something that I can commit myself for a long term. And I don't want to be again changing and changing, or
Mm-hmm.
like jumping from one thing to another. So that's why, what is it that really excites me and like motivates me and genuinely wants me to work on? And that was coaching. And that's why once I like uncovered and owned it, then it was easy to work from. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why the thing that I really want people to take, at least from my experience and how I'm like coaching my people as well, is before even asking the question of how you would do this, how you would do that, right? Because even if we have something exciting, something, an idea, and then we just block
Mm-hmm.
ourselves by saying,
Yeah.
well, I don't know how. And then that's why
Yeah.
we just stop it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why before even stopping, let's just explore, like, what is it that you're really wanting to do? Like, what's your truth about things? And then
Yeah.
let's really get clear about it and owning it. And then once you own that this is exactly what I want to be doing, then everything else comes like natural, I find. But before, we need to really get clear about that. And then if you have questions of, well, I don't know what I want to do, and I don't know if this is work, and that's, I think, we need to talk about here, Vicky, is that when people like tell you, or people have this question of, well, I don't know what I want to do, right? What
Yeah.
would you say? How would you help
You
them
know,
answer it?
yeah, there's it's very frequently that people, say, I don't know what I want to do. Or there is another version of it. There's so many things I would love to do, but I really
Yeah,
don't know which one to choose. And I think it's very similar. And here, what you are saying is exactly where I would go. And this is actually also my step number two, is the self-discovery, because it is really crucial that we dig within ourselves, that we have this coaching discussions with ourselves or with our coach, or we look deep in within ourselves, or into what is it that motivates me, what is the change I want to see the world. Those are just basically different questions to what is it, what do I want to, what do I want to do. If I'm not really sure what I want to do, some of the alternative questions I would say, what is the change I want to see the world, and what is my role in it. And also, what another way of looking at it is what motivates me. And here, there are loads of different things we can be motivated by. So I mean, the discussion can go in many different ways, but I think it's also important to really just to spend some time. And in these moments when we sometimes go into sort of, when we are so tuned into what we are doing, when we are in those moments, to really realize what is it that we were thinking about, where does our mind go the most, in those moments. And I think this is a very often a very good answer is that if we are spending a lot of thoughts about certain kind of activity or certain something that is not present in our life, but it seems that we want to go there, we need to explore it, because it's something that I think there is a sign that we need to go to that part and explore it. So I think what I'm trying to say in a different way is that we need to listen to ourselves. Really, what are the messages within ourselves? That deep listening to ourselves is like what is really our soul, or what is the deep inside of us telling us that this is your next step. And we have to listen attentively, because very often our mind might start blocking us, because it says exactly as you say, oh, this is not realistic, who do you think you are? But those are exactly the moments that we have to withstand and really go with the flow and work on where we want to go. What about you,
Yeah.
Asel? What would you tell the people who say, oh, I really don't know what I want to do, this is the only thing I know how to do, and what's
Yeah,
next for
exactly.
me?
I think that comes very often that people just tell me that, well, that's
Yeah,
all I have done for my
yeah,
life, like for 20 years, right? And then, I mean, who am I then to go somewhere else? Is that something? I think that's a very common thing to do. So that's why I tell people that the first stage of exploring is always looking at all the ways how our brains is going to say it's not going to work. It's a normal thing. Like it's not something to be afraid of, or it's not something like to just stop there, because oftentimes we want to just stop there, right? But instead, let's just say that that's the first stage, right? Once the first stage, we know that that's what's happening. Like this is not going to work. Who do you think you are? Or you have done only this work. Why do you think you will just magically do something else? Some people like tell me that, well, I'm not really entrepreneurial, even though I would like to be,
mhm,
right? And then we are not even allowing ourselves how that could be true, because we are so worried about how that's not true. So let's say that that's the first stage. And then once we recognize that's the first stage, then I recommend them to look at it. Okay, now let's imagine that if you knew, let's imagine if you knew, or let's imagine like if all of these things were not there. Let's say that for now we're just removing that suicide. We're not discarding them, we're not ignoring them. We're just saying, for now, let's put it aside. What is it that you're wanting to do? Like, if you're really honest with yourself, right? And then there's always some honesty comes out, some truth comes out. And I like never met a person who didn't know their truth. It's just that they
yeah,
never
yeah,
admitted to themselves or allowed themselves to admit it because of all the fears that
yeah,
we all have, right? So that's why we all have that truth. We just never paid attention to it or let that out in the world to have the air. So that's why once we allow that to be there, then we know that that's our truth. And then once we have that truth, then I suggest to them that now let's like sit with it. Not just
mhm,
start like doing something and going for it and like getting all hype up about how I'm going to do that, it's not going to work and all of this. Let's not go again to that part, because just let the truth be there. And then once the
mhm,
truth is there, and then we're like more getting like comfortable with it and getting like, oh, that is actually there, right? And then we can start entertaining, but don't like kill it before the seed is trying to get out of
yeah,
you, basically. So that's why
yeah,
let the spawn, or I don't know how it's called in English, but anyway, basically the seed starts growing, right?
yeah,
Once the seed starts growing, then we can start looking at it and see what happens, but don't
yeah,
touch it and ruin it. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. It's a very beautiful metaphor. I really love the metaphor, because we do have all of us have this amazing person within ourselves that is the potential, and it's up to us how much of that we just allow to come out and use the potential to create something great in this world. And yes, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Asel, I also wanted to, mention another way maybe of looking, that is for people that are more pragmatic, that maybe we'll get to the stage that we are talking about. But maybe if you want to take a more pragmatic look, take a look at, what are the motivators for you? What is it that you would like to? How would you like to see your career? In terms of location, where do you want to be located? Do you want to have what kind of autonomy do you want to have? Do you want to be employed, or do you want to be by yourself, working as a consultant, or maybe and a coach, or something else? What kind of flexibility do you need? And it's very related to the person we are. So again, it's linked to really self-knowledge and self-discovery, knowing what I need and where I perform the best. Also, in career, we always talk about growth, and ideally you wanna go into a career where you grow the most. But I think it's important that everyone is honest with herself, himself, or themselves. Maybe it's not growth. Maybe it's something else you need. Maybe you say, you know what? I want for my next 5 years total stability. I don't want something extraordinary. I don't want immense growth. I just need stability because I want to focus maybe on my family or something else. So I think it's just really important that we are honest about all these different parameters that when we are thinking about the next job or career move. So yeah, I think all of this. And also, do I want to work by myself? Do I want to work with a lot of people? Do I want to work in the morning, or do I want to go in the field, or do I just want to be in an office or work from home? So all these questions, they're very easy, very practical questions. But once you write them down, you already start forming some sort of a knowledge about yourself, or what you need in your next career, or what to think about. What are the more practical parameters
Yeah.
on the top or on the side of those that you have mentioned?
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
also, maybe the other aspect to think about is how do you answer yourself when all of your doubts and all of your questions come up, right? And I have noticed it so often that when are we in the place of like feeling, oh, we're not going to be able to do XYZ if we leave this place, we're not going to be that, we're not going to be that. If we are answering our questions from that view of ourselves, then
Mhm.
we will likely to not give ourselves a satisfying answer because we will be so easy to discredit all the things that we are able to do. We are so good at discrediting all our experience and all our abilities. And that's
Mhm.
why I really suggest people not to be answering those questions from this place of it won't work, basically, right? So if we
Yeah.
have the glasses of it won't work, no matter what
Yeah.
options we have available, no matter what opportunities we
Yeah.
have available, we will not see them or we will not be convinced, and we will be
Yeah.
always so good at convincing to the worst case scenario because our mind is so stuck in that place. So that's why, even though you, let's say you have discovered that what is it that you're really wanting to do and you have the seed growing, but still you are
Mhm.
like feeling anxious and worried, and how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that, and all of the hows that starts coming up. I really want you to think about getting yourself as a person who can answer those questions and go and make that happen, right? Because I think we all are so naturally good at knowing how things won't work. And
Yeah.
I am one of them as well. Like my brain is so good at telling me that this is not going to work for XYZ reasons.
Right.
I mean, you must be
Yes.
stupid to go
Mhm.
actually for it because da da da, right? So I think we're so
Yeah.
good at that. So now the ability really is to get ourselves to the mindset to say, I know all the things it couldn't work, but I also know all the things it could, and here are the
Mhm.
ways that I will be the one who make it work. And I think like taking my brain, for instance, to the place where I am actually in charge of making things work if I really wanted. It took me some time, but then I realized that many of our humanitarians are so good at already making things work in the most impossible places on earth.
Yeah,
and and I think
exactly.
we don't like recognize that ability so much within
Yeah.
us, and then if we recognize, we're like, oh, I shouldn't be bragging about it, or I shouldn't be talking about it, because right, because we want to sound very humble, and we want to sound like we
Hmm.
want to, I don't know, like diminish our abilities because we feel like
Yeah.
that's how we should do. And but recognizing that a lot of the abilities that we already have can be used for creating something new if we wanted to. So that's why I really want everyone to think about like what is it that you are already so good at it. And I'm guessing one
Yeah.
of the things we're so good at it is being passionate about something, right? And
Yeah.
that passion drove us to so many different places on
Exactly.
earth,
Yeah.
to the most dangerous places on earth as well. So that's why we're good at passion. We're also good at making things work where there's nothing to be, like nothing, no infrastructure, nothing, and we start building
Yeah.
from scratch. And we are good at that as well. And we're also good at finding solutions in places that we thought like there's no solution, right? So if we like tap into those powerful resources and abilities that we have, then we can start answering those questions from this place of like empowered
Mm.
and in charge place rather than this won't work, that won't work, da, 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 and then we
Yeah.
just stay and then we keep like not liking what we have.
Yeah. I think we are always a little bit coming back to the importance of open mind. Like the open mind is so crucial that if it's not there, or if you find yourself that for this moment your mind is not really open, that you are working from a more of a closed mindset, it's really important to switch, to sort of take a different perspective and take a really open mind perspective. Because as you say, if we are in the mindset of well, it's not going to work anyhow, then nothing in this world will be ever possible. So I think that's really important. And I'm also thinking about some other aspects, as people maybe who want to take really small steps, how they can go about this. And maybe they're just, because I'm sensing sometimes even the thought of like going into a different field is overwhelming. Like how can I, who worked 20 years in this field, how could I even imagine something different? So I think sometimes it's really overwhelming to think about a complete career change, or working in something very, very different. So I would suggest to really maybe think in terms of, the skills I have, what skills do I have, and where would I like to improve? What would I like to learn, maybe? So from maybe my point of view, like, okay, I know this, I have these skills. They're like sort of confirmed, like it's good. But what are the skills you maybe want to learn completely anew, or maybe want to improve? So that's another way of looking at, if you don't want to take the, I would say, the deeper work, which is really, I would say, the core work, really the life purpose, to touching the life purpose, and working with in depth, what is it that I want to do. But these could be, small steps of entering into subject, and starting to think and feel into, how is it going to feel when I learn this skill, in which field could I use it, apart from maybe the field I'm in, the humanitarian field, maybe some other. So I think that's another way of looking at the question, what career shall I go into after I'm done with the aid sector?
Exactly. And also I was thinking that maybe the last thing from my side at least to mention is I noticed that there is also a lot of judgment around, like judgment within ourselves, right? Of our own wishes. For instance, I have been
Mm-hmm.
talking to some humanitarians who were saying that, well, all I want is money, for instance, right? Or I don't know, all I want
Yeah.
is um, a hotel and or a bar, and then I will be just running the bar and then not caring about anything, or whatever
Okay.
those things that then what we often tend to do is we're like judging ourselves for wanting that
Yeah.
because we believe that we're not supposed to because we're these people
Yeah.
who are humanitarians like doing good in the
Yeah.
world and then wanting totally a different thing that we believe then is
Yeah.
not a good thing to want, right? So if that is you, then be careful as to why you want to judge yourself for it,
Yeah.
or why do you want to like punish for yourself or for wanting it, right? And instead, if you remove that judgment, then what is left is you're wanting that, whatever that is. And then you can just like maybe explore ways of how you just be okay with that, wanting that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not like, I don't know, crucifying yourself for, oh, I shouldn't be wanting it because then
Yeah.
people will think XYZ, and then I must be greedy, or that I must be not having a purpose in life, or all the other things that people may
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
judge themselves for, right? Because I always think like I don't really see the point of judging ourselves
Yeah.
because then it will just create lots of circles of like
Of course.
drama and all the things and suffering, which I don't find useful, right? So that's why if you remove the judgment, then you have this wish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if that's the case, then how do we go and making that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the ways you can make it happen? And like one of my clients was telling actually today that her husband wanted to have lots of sheep and just be in the village, right?
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So why are we not just doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And like she was saying that he thinks, oh, it wouldn't be prestigious enough, or it would be like, oh, this person so and so used to be this, and then now he's just doing this, and that's like not
Mm-hmm.
good, kind of thing. And why are we like discrediting that type of activity being inferior or like negative somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no such thing as like this is better than this, or unless we are classifying it in our own minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then why are you doing that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point, and indeed, it's very important to recognize first what is it that I'm wanting to what is the wish, and the second stage, what do I do with the wish? You can say like, yes, I will pursue this because I really believe in it, but you can also say maybe in this case, like, yes, it's something I would love to do, and at the same time my social status is equally important to me. So I think there is explanation for everything. I think one of the most important things is to be honest with myself and to go with the thinking process until the end with the analysis. Because if we don't, it will be somewhere hiding, and 10 years down the line, you will wake up and you will still want to be a shepherd, or I don't know, whatever job that was. You will still have it on your mind, and it will still feel like you're unfulfilled. So I think it doesn't mean you're going to become a shepherd, but just to go through the thinking process of how would it look like, where is this wish coming from, how would my life look like, how would my family look like. So all this, thinking process, to go through this, and then at the end you can decide, I still want it, or maybe I don't want it, or maybe I want a different version of it. I think it's never, I think one of the mistake we sometimes do, it's either black and white, but actually it's always different color. We need to work with so many different colors to get into what we really, really need. Like, we try here and it doesn't work, then we try here, and until we shape it up to where what actually works for us, it takes a bit of time. So
Yes, amazing. And the one thing that came to my mind now that you're talking about it is that I heard it recently. Someone was telling me from humanitarians, she was saying that, well, I want to change and I want to do something else, but I don't want to study. right? I don't
Yeah.
want to like go
Yeah.
to a formal education, for
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing is that once you know what is it that you're wanting, then how do you get there? Is there's so many different ways. And also you can always decide this is the way I want to get there. Because I think we're many of us are so trained that oh in order to change to something then we need to have like another studies of like how many years and then it will take up a lot of my time and I don't want to do that because I my time is limited because I want to do this. I mean we live in an amazing world where that type of educational formal like aspects are not so I don't know mandatory anymore unless of course you want to be employed in a particular institution that's maybe different, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why just because you have this wish and then you don't limit yourself by saying, well, I don't want to do an education or I don't want to do this, then explore what other ways you can go there. In other words, don't like allow your brain to find different ways to stop you
Mm-hmm.
because it will do that.
Yeah.
And knowing that brain's ability, you can also decide, okay, I want to do this no matter what. And here are my ways of doing it. And let's
Mm-hmm.
explore how that will happen. Amazing. So I think we have covered a lot of grounds, and I truly hope that people find their way to know what is it they're wanting. And if you have any questions or you want coaching around it, let us know. We'll be happy to do that. Or we want to, of course, also invite you to the monthly meetings where we will be discussing this in detail, specifically tailored to your question. So,
Mm-hmm.
anything else, Viki, before we close?
Just thank you, and do let us know how is your career thought or career thinking going on. Feel free to ask us questions, and if you maybe need coaching, we are here for you. Because I believe I think I can say we are both very passionate about this question. So this is definitely something that we would be happy to help with.
Yes, amazing. Have an amazing week and see you next Thursday.